There we go. Got it. I had to stop sharing in order to do it. And
Okay.
now I'm
Perfect.
going back to share screen and Adobe Photoshop. Okay. We're back to square one. All right, so we're going to expand the canvas. As I said, we're going to remove a whole lot of distractions. I will gauge as to how many we will remove depending on how quickly we're moving. And you'll see why in a moment as I show you some of the breakdown. We're going to then brighten the moose because it's a little dark. We're going to sharpen the moose only, not the background, because we want the background to be soft to create that contrast. We're going to desaturate some of the grass. Well, all of the grass is a very bright green. We're just going to take some of the green color away. We're then going to add a small S curve to enhance the contrast. And if we have time, we'll actually add a small vignette. And there are two ways of doing it that I will teach. There's probably many more, but I will teach two. So if we get to that point, and that's a big if depending on how fast the group works. So I'm going to walk you through my steps here on the far right first before we do anything. So the first thing I'm going to do is just get rid of the little messaging text. And the first thing we're going to do tonight is expand the canvas, which basically is going to fill in the gap at the very top. I'm not showing you yet how to do that. That's just coming. Then we're going to remove the distractions by doing that. We'll get into a little more depth in a moment. Then we're going to brighten the moose. Then we're going to sharpen the moose. Can you see the changes as I'm clicking?
Yes.
Okay.
I can.
So the moose is now sharper. We're going to desaturate the greens. We're going to add a small S curve, which just basically adds some more contrast. And if we can do it, we're going to in this particular case, I added a green vignette since most of the picture is green. So you'll notice that the outer edges became a little darker, yet the center stayed fairly light. So I'm going to turn that off. And then we can add a black to white vignette, which kind of gives the same effect, except I kind of like the green since the screen is, the image is predominantly green anyway. It's the same idea. It's just it added a color vignette as opposed to one that was black and white. So when it comes to removing the distractions, I'm going to open up the panel here. And when I did this, there were
thank you for the comments. For me,
Carm,
this
Yeah, I'm
represents.
you please. Thank you. Okay, so when we make the corrections, we're going to use 4 or 5 tools predominantly. We're going to use content aware fill one and one only time, and that's to fill the gap at the top of the screen. We're going to go through these things, so don't panic yet. Then we're going to use the spot healing brush to make simple corrections. If the corrections are a little more complicated, or the distractions are a little more complicated, we're going to use the healing brush in conjunction with the spot healing brush. Okay, so there may be 1 or 2 where we're using multiple tools at the same time. If the change is still stubborn and doesn't want to go away, we may actually go in and use the healing tool, which is similar to the spot healing tool, except you have more say in what it does. I'm an advocate of keep it simple. If the tool can do most of the work or the heavy lifting for you, let it do it. Then I'll go in and fix, if it does 80%, I'll fix the 20%. But why would I want to do 100% right out of the gate? So that's the attitude I'm taking here. And then, so we've talked about the healing brush and then the clone stamp tool. So let's just look at a couple of these changes. So the first 3 changes. All right. It's the best I can do, unfortunately. So actually, I'm going to remove that. Hold on a second. Here it is. So the distractions are as such. Number 1, it's pretty simple. And why do I say it's pretty simple? Because it's a distraction surrounded by one common color, green. So therefore, the spot healing tool is going to easily fix that. Number two, again, I'm going to use the spot healing tool. You're probably thinking, well, it's a much bigger branch. Yes, but it's again surrounded largely by green. So the spot healing tool in Photoshop will do a pretty good crackerjack job of fixing it. Now, will I do it all in one shot? No, that would probably be silly, because then the more you give Photoshop to do, the less likely it's going to do a good job of it. So this one I will probably break up into 3 steps, or we will break it up into 3 steps, but we'll be using the one tool to do it. Number 3, again, it's surrounded pretty much by the same color, so we're just going to use the spot healing tool. Number 4, here's the caveat. Yes, it's surrounded by the same color, but you'll notice it's touching the antler, which is now brown, a darker tone. So when you do that, if you use the spot healing tool, it's going to confuse Photoshop. It's going to say, well, yeah, I got green, but I also have brown in the antler. So it's going to make up something that's just really weird. I'll show you, and it's not likely the product we want in the end. So what we'll do is we'll purposely add a break between the antler and the stick. Once you do that, spot healing tool says, hey, I've got green for this part of the stick, and it just happily does it. Number 5, we're going to have the same problem, okay? Because it's touching the head, it's got 2 colors to deal with, so it's going to have trouble. So we're going to create a split and then do the spot healing tool. Number 6, 7, and 8, they're all pretty easy, but what I found was spot healing tool will work, but not perfectly. So then we'll use the cloning tool. You know, I use that 80-20 rule. We're going to let Photoshop create most of the fix and then adjust where it screwed up or where it messed up. Number 9, well, that's just a royal mess. You got a different shade of green, then down at the bottom, you're touching the moose here, you're touching the moose here. You've got, basically 3 to 4 different versions of the stick, the upper part, the middle part, the lower part, the ones sticking out. So I did this. I'll just show you my answer here. Over here, number 9, sorry, I'm on the wrong number. It took me approximately 9 steps to do it. None of them were difficult in and of themselves, and we'll see that. Had I wanted to do this all at once, it would have made a mess of it. It would have gotten confused. It would have picked elements from parts of the picture that just don't make any sense. So what we'll do is we'll split this up, and when we get there, I'll show you how we're going to split it up. Once you split it up, simple as anything, okay? Same thing over here. Number 10, it's touching the moose on one side and on the other side. You create a little split, and then spot healing tool will have no problem. Without it, it's going to create weird things. Any questions before we actually start this?
Yes,
I
I
have one
it's,
question. I'm a beginner, and then
Yeah.
when you say that in number 1 and number 2, you would use a spot healing tool, I would use fill with content aware. What would be the difference?
Nothing. They both achieve the same thing. Just spot healing tools, less clicks for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sam, will you go from the beginning over at the left legend to show us what you picked to get to these and your
Yeah.
rationale for
Yeah.
naming and numbering? Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
we're going to do them all together, but we're not doing everything at once. We're going to do number 1 together. Then we're going to do number 2 together, number 3 together. So I was just showing you a synopsis of what this journey is going to look like for us.
Great.
Okay.
Sam, it's Carm.
Yep.
Does Photoshop have a spot healing brush?
Yep.
Interesting.
The first one we're going to be using is content aware fill, but after that,
Or-
spot healing is the next thing. Okay.
Okay,
So-
no, I thought that was, see, my understanding was this was a Lightroom course, so I'm looking at
This is
that
Photoshop.
function in Lightroom.
Yeah, no, we're not using
Okay.
Lightroom at all for this. This is all Photoshop today. Okay, so
Good.
does everyone have the image open in Photoshop? If not, I will show you how to do it. Is that a yes for everyone?
Yes, I have it open.
Okay,
No, I don't have the image.
okay. Oh, you don't have the image?
No? Or should I go back to last time?
Do you have it was emailed to you, Hugh. Do you have the email with the image?
No.
Yeah,
That's- when was it? When was it emailed?
I'm not sure. You might want to check your spam. Just give me a
Yeah,
second.
if you have it from November.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's the
so
same image.
November. Yeah, so I don't know if I can find it from November.
Can you search?
Anyway, I don't want to hold everybody.
Yeah, it's kind of, this is pretty much, it's definitely a hands-on course. So without the image, it's going to be difficult for you to make the changes. If someone has it, does someone on the site here have it that they can email Hugh?
I'm just
Yeah,
looking
I
for.
could, I could.
Okay, thanks, Carm. And then I'll carry on and catch up with you, Hugh. Okay, so for those
Okay,
of you
thanks.
that have not, so is there anyone other than Hugh has not opened it up in Photoshop? Okay, so we're all at the same point. So I just have one layer. And I assume everyone is in the same state. And I'm hovering around the background layer. Is that everyone's the same place?
Yes.
It looks the
Okay.
same.
All right. So what I'd like everyone to do is, you see where I'm hovering over something called, it's the second from the top. It's in my case, it's elliptical. You might have a rectangular. Does everyone have something? It's either a circle with marching ants or a rectangle with dashed lines. It's generally the second from the top.
Yeah.
Rectangular marquee tool?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if you see there's a little triangle in the bottom right corner, just click on it. Sorry, click on it and keep your finger down, or you don't have to, I guess, but just click on it and you'll have rectangular or elliptical. We want the rectangular one, so just click on that.
Okay,
All right. So I'm setting that up because we're going to need it in a minute. So the next thing is, does everyone, you see what I've just highlighted now? It looks like two L's crossing each other. It's the crop tool. Does everyone have that? If you don't have it, the shortcut is C on your keyboard. If you can't find it, the shortcut is C.
Okay.
All right. Has everyone, at the very least, either clicked on that icon or typed in the letter C? If you
It
type
gives
it,
me, sorry, Sam, it gives me two options, crop tool or perspective crop tool.
we just want crop tool.
Okay.
Okay, so yes, we want the crop tool. So has everyone clicked on the crop tool? If so, you should see a highlight, as you see in my image, around the frame of the picture.
Yep.
Okay. The next thing I want you to do is go up to the top. I've already cleared mine, so let me just put, actually, it doesn't really matter. Just go up to the top and press the clear button. Because I don't want any figures, any numbers in these two boxes.
okay.
Okay, because what we're going to do is expand the canvas. There are multiple ways to expand the canvas. For me, this is the easy one. It's the most visual. All right, so now
Sam,
you're
just a
going
quick, sorry, Sam, just a quick question. So mine is only basically showing a crop of a part of the image. Even when I hit clear, it's still only showing that part.
then, okay, so yours
Can I
probably
just
looks
open it up manually?
something, yours looks
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah,
Okay, just take an edge and move it to the extreme edge on all
Gotcha.
sides until you see the whole picture.
okay, perfect.
So you're just dragging the handles, if I can call them that, around.
Yep,
Okay,
perfect.
so
Okay,
we want to add canvas to the top of the screen. So just grab the top and drag up as much as you want to add. This is to taste. Some people may add 1/4 of an inch, some people may add an inch. I don't really care. It's insignificant for what we're trying to do. So just add a
That's
little more on the top.
easy.
Pardon?
So easy. Who knew?
All right, so we're not finished yet. At the very top of your screen, there are some things I do not want you to have. Number one, you see delete cropped pixels. If you have that checked, uncheck it. Reason being is the crop tool in its wisdom will try to make your file size smaller by deleting unwanted pixels. That's great, except if I want them back, they're deleted, they're gone. So I would rather have them there and hidden rather than having them there and then thrown into the waste paper basket. Because once they're in the basket, I can't get them anymore. If I change my mind, too bad. So I typically do not delete my pixels. I'm a worry wart. I just worry I might need it, so I'm going to keep it and just hide it. And then the other thing you could do is click Content Aware Fill. We're not going to do that simply because I want to tell Photoshop what to do. You could, and what it will do, well, I'll do it anyway, and then I'll undo this. And let's see what it does. Maybe it'll do a good job. Oh, it did a great job. Okay, so if you click Content Aware Fill, it'll actually fill in that blank section for you. Now, you'll notice it kind of created some weird artifacts, but we can fix those. So that's one way to do it. So have people done that?
Yeah,
Okay, so that's one way to fill the section. So all we did was you expanded the canvas. We then checked on Content Aware Fill, clicked on the check mark, and lo and behold, in its wisdom, Photoshop filled in the contents of that blank space with nearby pixels and did I would say a very good job. Not perfect, but you know what? It's 98% there. That's one way to do it. I'll show you the other way. Let's just leave it at this, but I'll put it in so it's in the recording. I'm going to get back out and I'm going to, so I don't want you folks to do this. I'm going back to the crop tool. I'm going to expand the canvas and I am not, so I'm taking off the check mark on Content Aware Fill and I'm simply going to click check mark. What this is doing is it's leaving me with the space and I'm now in charge of fixing that. So remember earlier I said I want you to click on, or I want you to set up the rectangular marquee. So I'm going to click on it. I'm simply going to then highlight the space I want it to fix. And then I'm going to say, edit.
how did you get to edit, Sam? Sorry, I didn't.
On the
see-
menu, up top.
Yeah, we
Up top,
can't see
okay.
that part of your screen, Sam.
You can't.
Yeah, it's only coming up with a small portion of the menu, at least on my computer. That's
Okay,
how it's showing.
well, you're going to have to take my word on it. On your menu, you see the word edit, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
Right. So I'll have to walk you through it. Edit.
I have a quick question. Somebody said that he would send me the pictures and I still don't have anything. Do you need my
Oh.
email address?
Carm, you were going to send it for me?
No, it wasn't I who said, you mentioned my name and I couldn't talk
Oh,
about it because I didn't have his
Okay,
email
I
address.
can do it. What's your email address? Can you put it in the chat or? Can you go to the chat and put in your email?
Yes, I'm doing that right now.
Oh, thanks.
thank you.
Well, thank you.
Okay. So
Sorry about that.
no problem.
right.
So sorry, I got my wires crossed. So edit, Content Aware Fill. I'm just walking you through. I don't want you folks doing this because if you've done it the other way, it did a great job. So edit, Content Aware Fill. And what it's doing is it's bringing up the image, and on the right side, sorry, on the left side where the green stuff is, the green overlay, it's showing you what it's going to sample in order to, then there's on the right side, a tiny little screen that shows you the end result it's going to come up with. If, and in fact, it did a great job again. But if it didn't, what you could do is say, all right, I want you to sample less of the screen. And that's, you just start erasing. I just clicked on with my brush and I'm not going to do all of it simply because it did such a good job anyway. It's it's not really worth the effort, but it did a great job. So if your little square over here is not giving you the results you want, start erasing elements that you want to exclude from the selection process, and then look at the screen and it'll just keep refining it and refining it. Once you like it, you click OK, and it's going to remember it. Okay, so I'm not going to, because it's done a great job, but that's content aware fill. We used the crop tool content aware fill capability, and it worked fine. And if, again, as I said earlier, work smart, not hard. If the tool can do it for you right out of the gate by clicking a check mark, let the thing do it. Okay, any questions at this point? So I'm going to back up. Let me go back. Window, history. I'm looking for my history. Oh, there it is. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to do the crop tool all over again because I thought it was in there. That and content aware fill. Click. Okay, we're all at the same place. We good?
Yes.
Hugh, have you caught up yet, or?
No, I got the image, but I cannot. Okay, save as a picture. Okay, let's go there.
Just download it and then save it. So I'll catch up to you when
Thank you.
you do that. Okay, so let's go back to my results here, and let's turn all this red stuff off, and let's turn the type back on. So the first thing we did is expand the canvas. So everyone's good with expanding the canvas and filling it in, correct?
Yes.
All right, next thing we're going to do is remove some distractions. So if we look at my answers, number 1, right down here, the first thing I fixed was this thing, and all I used to fix it, if I show you what I did, there we go. No, that's not the answer. Command 0. Okay, I've got to turn these off. There we go. There we go. It's this one though. There we go. All I did is I used the spot healing tool. I went over and brushed over the area that I didn't like, and Photoshop created this little piece, this little element for me to correct it. We're now going to do that. So it creates a brand new layer. We're going to create a brand new layer, and we're going to overlay it on top of the distraction. So that's why I'm able to, let's turn this off again. That's why I'm able to do this. It's on its own layer. I could have made this fix on top of this layer here, but that's called working destructive, meaning I'm changing the original. Those pixels are gone. And if for whatever reason I change my mind tomorrow and want to put that thing back in, it's gone. But the way I'm doing it with layers, it's not gone, it's just hidden. So I come back up here and just click on the eyeball, and this layer is either on or off. So it's non-destructive. I have total control. So wherever possible, work in a non-destructive manner. Everyone okay?
Sam, what if you were wanting to change the contrast of the whole area? The way you've done it, is everything changed?
We're going to see that actually up here when we desaturate the greens. That's a good example. But again, it's in a layer. It's on its own so that I'm not disrupting the original pixels. Wherever possible, never change your original, because it backs you into a corner and you can't change beyond that. Okay, so we're going to do that. So let's go over here. The first thing I want to do is, don't do this. No one do this because you're doing it the wrong way. But I could come to this little thing that looks like a little suitcase with a handle. That's the spot healing tool. Please do not do what I'm doing. I'm going to repeat that again and again. And if I'm making my brush either bigger or smaller. So there's the square bracket keys or the right bracket keys. The right square bracket, that is, the right square bracket will make your brush smaller. Sorry, the left square bracket will make your brush smaller. The right square bracket will make your brush bigger. Okay. And I want a soft brush. So I clicked on this little icon right here, which is my brush. Okay. I want hardness to be 0. If you're anywhere else up here, you don't want that. You want a soft brush. So you want it nice and feathered. So I'm going to,
When might
Wait.
you use one that's harder?
when you're trying to work around a hard edge of something.
Okay,
Right now, we're generally with distractions, you want a soft edge and it just blends nicely. So
Okay.
again, don't do what I'm doing because this is really the wrong way to do it, but I want to prove my point. You highlight this and just let go and it's gone. The blemish is gone. The problem is, as I said earlier, it's changed my original pixels. If for whatever reason somebody says tomorrow, I want that stick there. I don't know why they would, but say it was an element that was different, that was a light bulb or something, and then you might want the light bulb but versus not one. It's physically gone. You don't see anything here that I can show. I was earlier showing you by clicking the eyeball on and off. That's gone. That doesn't exist. So I'm going to undo what I just did, and that's Control or Command Z, depending on whether you're a Mac or a PC, and that just undoes what I just did. The right way to do this is, in fact, come down to the plus down here at the bottom and click it. And what that has done is it's created a new layer. All my changes for this one fix will be done to that new layer. The reason being is then I can turn that layer on and off. It's non-destructive. So make sure you've clicked on the plus, you've got the new layer, and now you go back to this thing that looks like a suitcase with a handle. Make sure it's clicked with a soft brush. Just go over top and click. I want everyone to have done that. And if it doesn't work the first time, do it a second time. It's as easy as that. And when I click this eyeball on and off, you see the change is made, but it's on its own layer, so I have control. So everyone do that, and I will wait.
Sam, sorry, how do you make the circle bigger again?
Oh, the square brackets, the left will make it smaller. Click on the right square bracket and it'll make the circle bigger.
Okay, right square, okay.
Okay, and your circle should basically just encompass the distracted area. Don't make it too big, and certainly don't make it smaller than the distraction. Okay, so I'm going to remove my distraction so you can see my circle is roughly, can you see that, it kind of overlaps it a little bit, but it's not crazy like that. That's just dumb. That's not going to work because I don't have room in here. I'll start touching the antler. So you just want to be big enough, but not too small.
So Sam, do you have to hit enter after?
Nope, you just literally go over top, color it in, and let go.
Mine's not doing anything. I'm getting the black mark
Okay.
when I'm going over it.
All
And then
right.
I'm
So
letting go. I am using a mouse.
okay, so hold on a second. I may have forgotten to verify that we're all doing the same thing. So you're on the empty layer, Leanne?
Yep, I created
Okay.
a new layer.
Let's look at the very top of your screen and make sure by default, these options should be set, but they may not be depending on your settings in Photoshop. So the very first thing, content aware should be dark.
Yep.
Okay. Then sample all layers should be checked.
Oh, it wasn't. Okay.
Okay, because it wasn't checked, what you were doing is sampling the one layer which was empty to try and clone from.
Okay.
So when you say sample all layers, you're saying to Photoshop, look everywhere and try to fix the problem for me.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay. So while we're on it, I'm also going to does anyone have this kind of a distraction on their mouse right in here?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's see how good Photoshop is. This wasn't in my original because I did it differently, but we're here now. So let's make sure the suitcase with the handle, that's the spot healing brush, is highlighted. And I'm just going to color it in.
And you created a new
I
layer?
created a brand new layer.
Okay,
Okay, so it's not doing a very good job. And the reason being is I'm trying to remove something that is touching, it's in the green space and the brown space. It's touching something. If it were all in the green space as the first fix was, not a problem. But this is a case where that's not going to work. So I'm going to show you how I would handle that. So I'm going to delete this layer. You don't have to.
how do you delete the layer?
All right. So to delete something, you just make sure your layer you don't want anymore is highlighted. Come down to the trash can, click on it. And it'll say, do you really want to delete? And I said, yes.
Okay, thank
So
you.
this is a case where the spot healing tool, while it did something, it didn't do what I wanted. I want to now clone. So I always start at the top, spot healing. If it works, job done. It's not working, so now we have to use a heavier hammer. So we're going to use the clone tool. So the clone tool requires a couple of steps. Number one, you have to click on the clone tool or the letter S, the clone stamp. So when I hover over it, it looks like a stamp, you know, back in the old days when we were, well, back when I worked in an office, they used to have stamps. I've aged myself. So either click on this icon or type the letter S. And if you don't see this little stamp icon, let me know, because you're going to end up in the wrong place altogether. We good, everyone? Hugh, did you manage to catch up?
No, but go ahead. I will catch up with the video.
Okay.
I don't want to slow down everybody.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
So does everyone have the stamp tool selected?
Yes.
All right. Number two, I want everyone to have a new layer. You don't need to, but there's a reason why I want to. Number one, I personally, every change I make, I put in its own layer. Because if I change my mind 5 steps down the road and I've put everything in one place, I have to undo 5 steps and then redo 4 of them. Well, that's just silly. If I put it on its own layer, I just delete the one layer, I'm finished, job done. Okay, so create the one layer and we're going to make the correction for this on that layer. Oh, by the way, you should always rename it, because it's meaningless when it says layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. So what I did is I clicked on the layer, double click on the word layer 1, and let's remove, just type in remove top stick. I don't know, pick something descriptive for you. I won't be doing that for the rest of this because it takes time, but I just want to show you that you should rename your layers, because when you've got, as you saw in my original one, when you've got 40 or 50 layers, it's hard to know what's what. Okay, and I put them in groups, basically folders, to help segregate them. We'll do that when we get to a more complicated one. So let's go back to layer 2, which is this part up here. We're going to use the clone stamp tool. So the first thing I want you to do is decide, what do you want to clone? Well, I want to clone part of this hair and out from there. But you'll notice this is going at a different angle from this. Does everyone agree with that? Where the stick is sticking out, it's a little gentler of a slope as compared to where I'm going to steal the hair from. Not a big deal. So first thing I want you to do is, this is where I'm going to steal from. I'm going to click on the Option key, and you see what looks like a bullseye show up now. And then just click, and then let everything go. So let's do that again. Click on the Option key, get your bullseye, point to where you want to start copying from, and click. Stop. It hasn't done anything. All you've done is set a reference point. Has everyone done that? You won't see anything, but I need you to have done the reference point.
Oh, shoot.
We not use the done stamp because the area to done has not been defined.
I had the same thing.
Say that again. Well, here, let me show you and then we'll see if you can do it. So let me take it to the end and then we'll circle back. So I said I want to copy from here and I want to move it here. So I'm coming over here, pressing the Option key, I get the bullseye, I click, then I'm going to move away, and then I'm going to click again and keep my finger on it and watch what happens. That's not what I want. Hold on a sec. I need to make my brush bigger. Hold on a sec. Clone stamp. Yeah, my problem was my brush was too small. So I'm going to make this bigger. So I'm coming back with a bigger brush. I'm going to Alt or Option click, move away. And what I'm going to do is now right click and just keep drawing. I'm purposely, you're probably wondering why on earth is this idiot drawing something out in the middle of the field? Don't worry about it. Now we're going to press Control T, which is the transform tool, which allows me to now create a box around this, and I can move it. I can tilt it. And that's pretty close. I mean, it's not perfect, but we can fool around with it a little more, but I'm not going to at this point for expediency purposes. So I have now put the hair in and cloned out the distraction in the green all in one shot. Can we walk through it together now? And it's on its own layer, by the way, so I can turn it on and off. Okay, I could actually Command T, and if I click on this little icon, it'll allow me to put a little more of a bump into the hair because I'm now changing its shape. And that's the, I forget what it's called. It's part of the transform tool. It lets me change its look. So here you go. So let's go through this together. I'm going to purposely turn off mine, and we're going to do this now as a group. So number one, everyone click on the stamp. Has everyone done that? Okay, silence means no problems. Good. Number two, click on the plus at the bottom to create a brand new layer. Has everyone managed to create a new layer? Good. Now, in the perfect world, rename your layer. We're not going to bother for expediency purposes. Number three, we're going to click on the Option key, and you should see a little bullseye, best as I can describe it. And I'm going to hover over where I want to copy from. Actually, this is probably a better spot right here, because it does have a bit of a curve in it, a natural curve. So
what do you call the Option key? Sorry.
Option or Alt, depending on whether you're on a Mac or a PC. So Option on a Mac, Alt on a PC.
Thank you.
So Sam, when I did that, I got the message that you said, but my moose picture is now like a quarter of the size on the screen.
Okay, type in Command 0. And that should fill your moose back.
There we go. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure what you did to make it smaller, but Command 0 just says fill the screen. Okay,
Okay.
so we're going to Option and point to the hump, and then just on the edge of the fur in the green, just click. Take your hands away. Has everyone done that? Nothing will happen. All you've done is set a reference point. Anybody have any trouble clicking with the Option or Alt? Okay. Move
Should we
your
be
cursor.
seeing a circle like you were?
What's that?
So I did that, but I'm not seeing a circle like I'm seeing you've got on the
Um,
screen.
I wouldn't worry about that. When you
Okay.
move up, do you see a piece of fur just hovering in the middle of nowhere?
I don't.
Okay.
Okay, so when I press on Alt, I have a tiny thing. How do I make that tiny thing bigger?
Okay, first thing you probably, is your brush, you see my circle? Is your brush, press your square bracket, the right square bracket, to make it a little larger. So that it's roughly the same size as mine.
Yeah, but when I press the Alt on the fur, it's a tiny thing.
Yeah,
So
all you're doing,
Okay.
again, you're not going, when you're pressing the Alt, all you're doing is you're saying, I want to sample here. It's doing nothing else. It's just setting,
okay,
it's setting a reference point. That's why I keep saying, press Alt, click, take your hands off. Nothing should happen at that point.
okay,
All right, then move your mouse. And when you do that, look, when I'm moving mine, I'm moving around with a piece of fur in there. I've basically said, I want you to steal this and remember that location. So regardless of where I put it, I'm now going to start to paint or copy this piece of fur here over here. And now I'm going to left click and keep my finger on it and just keep drawing. I'm going to go up, down. I'm going to copy, about 1/4 of an inch worth of fur, plus some of the green. Okay. So if I turn this off and on, that's what I've copied. And I purposely put it out in no man's land so that you can see it. So we've cloned this and moved it over here. I know it looks stupid because it's in the middle of a green field, but it's just there to be, it's in a holding spot just for a minute. We're going to move it. Does everyone have a patch of hair and green sitting off in La La Land?
No,
nope,
I do.
Okay, so who doesn't?
I don't.
Dan and
I
you.
don't either.
Okay, so
And Sam, I'm having difficult because I have actually two moose images,
at the same time?
one laid on top of the other simultaneously.
Okay, so you've got,
Now, one
do
of
you have
them,
do you have two tabs, Mark? Carm?
Carm, actually, I guess I went in and deleted the one.
You must
Moose
have the same
picture,
image
so-
open twice. That's all I'm thinking.
No, I had the original, anyway. I have what you're seeing. I don't know where the other image is gone.
Okay, all right. So let's start, for those of you that are having trouble. Let's create a brand new layer. So click on the plus. I don't know what, not being able to see what you've got. I'm having trouble picturing that. So let's create a brand new layer and it should be empty. So I'm going to turn mine off. I'm going to click. So I've got a brand new layer with nothing on it. I'm going to go over to the hump, position myself where I want to copy from. Everyone there? Don't do anything. Now, click on the Option or Alt key. All of a sudden, that circle turns into a target.
Yep.
Don't do
Yes.
anything. Then just left click with your mouse and stop. Okay? You won't see anything. All you've done is you've said to Photoshop, that's where I want you to steal from. Then you move anywhere you want to. I'm just putting it out in the middle of the green field, the green grass. And now when I press and hold my left button on the mouse and start to color, just drag around, I'm now creating a clone of that space, that little, you'll notice there's a big plus and the little plus. The little plus to your left is your reference point. The big plus is what I'm painting in.
I'm just not getting the fur like that. I'm doing the option. I'm got the circle big enough. But when I hold it and left click, nothing.
I would check your flow and your opacity at the top.
Oh, good point. What is your flow and opacity? They should
Where
both
do
be
I,
100.
Where do I find that?
Right at
Top
the
of your
top.
screen. I've got my mouse on it right now.
Oh, hold on. I've got to switch back.
And there's a few things. It should say normal. It should say
Yeah,
opacity 100, flow 100. And
Yep,
then-
all that's right.
And current and below.
Sorry, the current and below.
Underneath sample.
Yes, it says current layer.
No, current and below.
Okay, maybe that's my,
That's that's
Ah,
exact. That is the
that's
problem.
my issue. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. For some reason, Leanne, because these are the defaults. I haven't changed them. For some reason, your defaults are a little off kilter. So if things are not working, the first thing we should do with you is check up top here, because it's twice now that they haven't. So what we'll do at some point is we'll reset all your options. We won't do it now, because obviously something is different with yours, which is, going to cause some problems. But anyway, so you've got your little.
Yep, I've got my
Fur
fur in the
patch.
middle of
Okay.
nowhere.
So with making sure the layer you just created with the fur patch is highlighted.
What?
Hello? Okay, I want you to press Command T. And what that does is it puts a bounding box around what we want to now move. That's the transform tool. Okay? Once you're in the transform tool, you can do a few things. You can tilt it, you can move it. So what we really want to do is move it in place, give it a bit of a tilt so it fits what we want, and just adjust it. So,
And you're just doing that with your mouse.
yep, it's just going to take a little bit of finessing, move it in place, and then click the check mark. You are done. You've just created a little patch to fit over top to do 90% of the work. If you still don't like it, then what I would do is I would come into the patch tool. You don't have to do this, but I'm picky. I create a new layer and I'm using that little thing there, and I just keep using the little guy with the handle with the suitcase. I just color it in a couple times. Don't touch the brown, stay in the green only, and you'll eventually get Photoshop to agree with you. Okay.
Sorry, can you repeat that last part, Sam? I missed that.
Okay, so Command Z. So I noticed it's a little darker here than I'd like. So
Right.
I created a new layer. I went to we were on the stamp. I just went back to the little suitcase, which is the spot healing.
Right.
And I just color in the part of the color that I didn't like, and it blends it better.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
we use the stamp tool to do the heavy lifting. And then if it's still not perfect, then go back to the spot healing tool and let the general purpose tool, that's what I call it. It's the big Band-Aid. Let it see if it can fix it. Because if it can, it saves me a lot of grief. Honestly, you're going to see the spot healing tool fixes most of the problems. And when it can't, then you switch to the stamp tool. All right. And does anyone have a weird little artifact right here? I've got a tiny little gray spot. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to come straight across with the spot healing tool. And look, it did a horrible job. So get back out, maybe. There we go. So the spot healing tool fixed it. All I did was moved away from the brown spot just a little more. Okay, so.
I've got a white spot above the moose now.
Yeah, that's because the spot healing tool didn't do it properly. So Command Z to undo it. And then
Yep.
what I would do is maybe make your brush smaller. Again, spot healing tool is not idiot proof. It'll make mistakes. So you just got to be patient with it. Make it smaller. Don't get so close, and look at that. It got rid of it. Okay. But
Not on mine, it added more white above it.
well,
Anyway, continue.
yeah, but I'm going to purposely do this. I'm going in the green and the brown, and I expect it. Yeah, see, it kind of made it a little lumpy now. So
And added white,
Yeah.
added white above the lump.
anyway, for expediency purposes, we better move on to the next one.
Yep, go ahead.
The next one is this big branch. So I'm going to skip these because the answer is the same for these down here. What I want to do is get to this one and this one, the ones that are touching the antlers, because this is all spot healing at this point. So as I said earlier, we use spot healing for this. We're going to use spot healing for this. The difference is this is a bit bigger. So if you do it all in one shot, I have my doubts that Photoshop's going to get it right. It'll get most of it right, but not all of it. Why create extra work for myself? Just press the spot healing a few times in smaller increments, and it'll just make Photoshop's job a whole lot easier. So again, because I like to put everything in its own layer, and you should rename your layer, I click on the plus down here. I then go make sure my spot healing is turned on. I've got a small, make sure my brush is soft, and it is. Hardness is 0%. I come back in here and make sure that my tool is a little larger than the area I want to cover. And I'm just going to go to about here. Not doing all of it. And if I'm not completely happy yet, do it a second time. There you go. It's pretty much gotten that done. Then I'm going to come in and just do that. Almost done.
So when you've got something large, it's better to do it in sections.
Yeah. Okay, and you'll see, like you see, I'm doing the same spot over and over again until I get it right. It's just a matter of clicking and hovering, and Photoshop will start to sample the same areas and start to create it. So I haven't changed the tool. I'm constantly using the spot healing. And now I'm going to make my brush a little bigger and get rid of this monsters thing. And it created some artifacts. All right, so I want you folks to do the same thing. Just spot healing tool, one tool on a new layer, but just do it in small chunks. Don't do the whole thing because you will get weird artifacts.
So that's the bandage one, right?
That's the one looks like a suitcase. Yes. Yes, Steve, the one that looks like a suitcase with a handle. The other one we will see a little later. It does the same thing as this one, except it says you have to give me information. Whereas the one with the handle says, don't worry, I got you. I'm not asking you any questions. I'll figure it all out for you. And again, I'm lazy by nature. Not lazy. I like to work smart. If it can do the work, let it do the work. If it consistently messes up, then I go down to this one and I say, all right, I will do some heavy lifting for you and dictate what you have to do. And we'll do that actually on the next one, just so you can see how it works.
Okay, Sam, when I move the circle new layer over the twig I want to, it doesn't go black, it goes white and gray squares.
Okay, again, are your options set is the same as mine? Mode normal, content aware, sample all layers. Like, make sure the top of your screen looks just like this.
I have virtually nothing like that. Flow 100, opacity 100.
No, you're using the wrong tool if you see the word opacity up there. Did you click on the suitcase with a handle? Or are you on the brush tool?
Well, I'm not on a brush. I'm on a.
You need to be on the spot healing tool. Press the letter J for me. That'll get you there instantly. And once you do that, do you see the top part of your screen looks similar to mine, Carm?
Nope, not at all.
All right, well, without seeing your screen,
Let's continue on.
okay, well,
A lot of mine is not mimicking what you're showing, so
all right,
I'll
well,
work with the recording and.
oh, Okay, well, Carm, maybe what we can do is afterwards or at a future date is we can have a Zoom and I can actually give you control and then I have a hand or eyeballs on your screen without seeing it. It's really hard for me to imagine what might be going wrong, but anyway, let's
Certainly,
keep going.
yes. Mhm.
So we've removed a couple of sticks. So again, I'm not going to do it, but if you were to do this, you can start to remove all of this. It's not going to be any different. Okay, so we're not going to invest any time in this because again, same thing here, same thing with this stick, because it's all surrounded by the same color, spot healing tool will work. That is not, so the same thing with this one. Should be easy enough to get rid of. A couple of strokes. There you go. Okay, so whether you do that or not, see how it was pretty quick and easy. I didn't change a tool. I just kept highlighting it until Photoshop got it right. If I do that here, so I'm going to create a new layer, it's not going to get it right. I can already tell you it's not going to get it right here. It's not going to get it right here. It's not going to get it right here or here. Why? Because it's not surrounded by a common color. It works based on contrast. And when it finds contrasts in multiple places, it's guessing at best, and more often than not, it guesses wrong. So let's try this one. Don't do this because it's not going to work. There you go. It created a weird little divot. Let's turn this off and on. You know what? It actually did a pretty good job there. So let's finish. I take it back. I owe Mr. Photoshop an apology. It actually did a good job. I think I could have done a better job because I don't think that is rounded as well as I'd like, but you know what? No one would know. So you can leave that one. So if you want to fix that one with the key and sorry, with the spot healing tool, let me know if it worked for you. Has everyone managed to remove that stick that was poking into the eye?
Yep.
And did you get, and it didn't invent any weird artifacts or add any elements to the moose's head that don't really, that look out of place? Everything's
don't
good?
think so.
Okay, good. How about you, Jim?
It doesn't, it almost looks like I got a little bit of an eyelash when I blow it up a little bit. So I'm going to say yes, I got a little bit of an artifact there,
Okay.
but nothing too
Okay.
bad.
If you did, then you do what we did up here. You break it by
Right.
copying an element and adding it here, which we're going to do next here on the, what we do for the next one is exactly what you would have done for the eyeball. I'm just
Okay.
trying to show you the things that are different now, because if we keep doing the same thing, it's not really teaching you anything.
Right.
So here I'm guessing, so I'm going to create a brand new layer. I'm really hoping it doesn't do it right because I really want to show you this next thing. So let's do this. Yeah, there you go. That's what I expected it to do. Why? Because it had contrast, darker color here, and the green contrast here. It just said, well, I'm mixed up. I don't know what to do. So let's undo that and let's help it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clone a piece of this. Let's clone a piece from here. Doesn't really matter where we clone it from. And I'm going to add it here. And what that's going to do is it's going to break the stick away. Once I do that, then the spot healing tool says, I got this for you. I can make this real simple. So create a new layer. Always do this on a new layer, and that way you can choose to keep things simplified. Then I want you to click. So everyone have new layer selected?
Yeah.
Okay. And in the perfect world, you would have renamed your layer. We're not going to bother. Then I want everybody to click on the stamp or type the letter S. Either will get you there. And so the little stamp should now be highlighted. Everyone there?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, I will keep going. If I'm going too fast, please stop me at any time. So my circle, put it in position where I want to steal from. And then click Option or Alt, depending on what platform you're on. that turns that into a target. Once you have your target, click, take your hands off. Don't do anything. And I will wait for everyone to catch up. I want to see everybody's hands up in the air. So everyone's created the reference point. That's all we've done. You shouldn't expect anything to happen at this point. Reference point is created. Move your mouse away and then left click and start to clone the reference. And simply, I want to see something that has a little bit of black in it and a little bit of green in it. Has everyone created a little element with some of the black from the antler and the green from the water?
Yeah,
Okay, good. Now, Command T. You're going to get the bounding boxes around it. Remember, you come to the angle, you can angle it. in
So
position.
command on a PC is control.
Is Control T. Yeah.
Okay, so
Command
when I
Control.
do Control T, I get could not transform because the initial bounding rectangle is empty.
Are you on the layer that? So do you?
I am, yeah.
Okay, so let's get out of here. So you've created something that looks like that, Hugh?
But maybe I need to, do I need to click like, it keeps moving when I move my mouse. So do I need to click and right click or left click to make it permanent?
Nope. Let me just do it again. So I went to the antler, I positioned myself, press Option.
Yep.
Option or function for you, or Alt, sorry, Alt. And now you see what looks like a target.
Yes.
Left click and let everything go.
Mhm.
And the target goes away, and now you just have your circle, right?
That's right. Yep.
Then move down to some other place,
Yes.
left click and start
Okay,
to color it in. Start to
Okay,
color it
left
back
click.
in. Did you do that?
I didn't do the left click. Okay.
Okay, so your layer was empty, which is what it was telling you. So now
Okay.
when you press Command T, you should get the bounding box. Or Control T in your case.
Yeah, I do. Thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to delete that layer because I've got two of them. So I'm going to, so if you don't want to keep what you've just done, click on the circle with the slash in it. And I'm going to delete that layer. So let me come back to this layer. And, oops, Command T. So everybody's back at Command T. As I was saying, you can come to the corner and you can tilt it. You can go inside the middle. Don't move that little circle, by the way, inside the middle. That's a pivot point. We don't need it for this, but don't move it because it may come back to haunt you. I'm not going to get into that at this point. So just position it where you want it. And if you really have to be picky, just use your arrow keys, right, left, up, down, and it just moves one pixel at a time.
And how did you get it to rotate? Did you have to right click it or?
No, just soon as you go to the corner, you see a double arrow with a curve in it, left click and start moving your mouse and it'll change the angle on you.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
And then when you get what you want, you click on the check mark up top, done. So now we have created the break. The secret here is break, break, break. You want to break things. If you do that, you've mastered spot healing. So we created a break now. And so everything around that stick is green. Because of that, now when I click on spot healing, it says, oh, I got this. Everything's green around it. So this is real easy for me. I may not get it right the first time, but give me a couple chances and I'll perfect this. So I've got on spot healing. I'm making my brush just a little smaller. And I'm going to now hover over this. Boom. Pretty much gone.
Nice.
Okay. There you go. It's I don't like what that is there. Oh, there you go. And it's all done with the spot healing tool. No other tools, no other fancy stuff. The secret was to break the connection. We're going to now really get into it here. So everyone able to recreate? So everyone able to recreate the missing piece on the antler and then get rid of that stick?
Yes.
Okay, so the
Sam,
last one,
before you
Yeah.
go on, can I just ask a question? I have a legend on mine that shows all the history.
yep,
Do you hide yours?
I use my history all the time. It's just not showing up right here. But
Because mine's a black box kind of in the middle of my screen.
okay, let's go to window history. Is it something like this?
Exactly.
Yeah, so number one, your history is your savior. The
Right.
reason being is you can, and this is the same as in Lightroom. You can
Yep.
go back, say you've done a lot of work and you really mess things up. Well,
Yeah.
I can go back and this is all depend on your preferences. I think I've set mine up to 100 steps back. The more you remember, the more memory it takes. So you got to use some caution here. You don't want 500 steps back because it's just going to gobble up memory for no real reason. So pick a number if you're changing your preferences that's reasonable. I think mine is 100. So I can then say, you know what? I want to back up, and I'm randomly picking something. I don't know where I'm going. There you go. It's moved back to this point in time. I just picked this spot and it's
Yep.
moved right back. Now, don't do anything because if you then continue from there, it's going to forget everything from that point forward and start anew. So I don't want that. I want to go right back to the bottom and click, and it's bringing me back to that point in history. Had I gone back and then started to do something, it's gone, lost. So if you go back in history, be careful because you can mess yourself up if you didn't mean to.
So I'm good with that because it's very
Yeah.
much like Lightroom.
Yeah,
But yours wasn't in the middle of the screen like it
no,
is
so
now.
I'm going to put mine right here, right next to the word path. So what I did is I simply grabbed it and dragged it and moved it into that space. There you go. So now it's
Okay.
in this section as a tab. Okay, I use history all the time. It's
Okay.
probably the one piece that's on my screen constantly because I often change my mind 5 or 6 steps in. So I just want to go back, boom, done. So
It was just affecting me being able to edit hanging in the middle of my screen, but okay, thank you.
yeah. All right, so I'm trying to, all right, it doesn't matter. So so go back to layers. So we've got oh yes, we were talking about this. So you can do all the simple stuff with the spot healing tool. This one, and we're not going to do this one because this one is this one much simplified. This one here is a big problem. And the reason being is, and I'm going to, don't do what I'm doing right now. I'm going to go to a brush. I'm going to change this to a red. All right. And I'm going to change my softness. Again, I'm just doing this to, there you go, to show you what's going on. So I've got this section here where the background color is the same, and I'm going to successfully be able to use the stamp tool, the clone stamp tool, and the spot healing brush. Not a problem. I've done this enough. I know what its behavior. It's going to work fine. So that's number one. Then I want to put a breakpoint in right here because again, the background is the same. So it's got a good reference point. Then I'm going to do this. So I'm going to break this up into 3 sections. If I try to do it all as one, you can see the green is different from the green is different. The green here is different from this to this. And so what Photoshop's going to do, if I did this all at once, or even if I tried to use content aware fill, it's going to sample all of this, and it might move some of this darker water up here, some of this lighter green down there. Well, it doesn't belong. So why would I get it? Why would I ask it to do the whole thing and make a mistake when I can just say, you know what? Let's do it in 3 steps, make it easy for Photoshop, and the job is just done. Does that make sense? So we're doing this in 3. So let's go back to my answer because I can actually show you what I did on this one, because this one's a little more involved. So I'm going to turn this on and then turn all these off. So let's go through it step at a time. First thing I want to do is create a break. Remember, anytime you have a stick or an object protruding into something else and it's a different texture or color, you want to create a break. So what did I do? I created a break. We've done that. We did that in the antler. But there's a second stick. I want to create another break. So what do? We use the stamp tool to create that break. Then I want to create another break somewhere in the middle. So what I've done is I've created an island now. This thing has nowhere to go but reference green. I made it really easy for Photoshop by creating 3 breaks. Had I not done that, Photoshop would have started to bleed into here to reference that as well. Does everyone understand that? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Then I use the spot healing to clean this up. And look, it did a beautiful job. You wouldn't know that I took that out, or that Photoshop took it out. Then I use the spot healing to take that one out, because there was a natural break there. And then I did some more spot healing. So I used spot healing. I didn't need the clone, but what the difference is, I didn't spot heal everything. I just spot healed within the boundary of that area because it wasn't sticking into anything. It wasn't protruding into the mousse in any way. And then because I'm anal, I see a little bit of a solid line right here. I use the clone stamp tool to just clean that up. Okay, so now we're going to do that together. All right, let's go back to this. And let's remove my little, yeah, now I'm going to delete that because I don't want that. So there we go. So what's the first thing I want to do, folks? You're driving the bus now, not me.
Create a layer.
Create a layer. All right, done. What's the second step?
Go to create the division of the break.
Okay, so we want to create a division. How many divisions are we going to make?
3.
3.
3.
1 here, because it's intersecting. It's intersecting here, and then I split it here. I may not have needed that, but it would just make my life easier to do that. So what tool are we going to use to split?
The clone stamp.
Right. Does anyone remember the shortcut to the clone stamp?
S.
S. It's not C in this case, although you would think, because C is reserved for crop. So they went with the second letter of the word, or the second word, and used its letter, the S. So if you just type S, and what's the first thing I want to do when I want to clone?
Sample.
Right. So I position my cursor where I want to sample from. Okay, my cursor's there. What's the next thing I want to do?
Option click.
Right. So option creates the bullseye and click. Take your hands off. All right. Now move the cursor away. Put it anywhere where you can easily see what you're doing. So we've moved it. What do you do next?
Paint it. Left click.
Right. Left click and start to paint, and make sure when you paint, you have both sides of the equation, some of the green and some of the black. Okay, so does everybody have somewhere on their screen some fur and some green?
Sam, sorry, my photo looks like the size of a postage stamp. How do I get it back to full screen?
Command 0.
0. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
All right, so everybody has a little blob of fur somewhere out somewhere. So there's a keystroke for transform. Who can guess what it is? It's two keys,
E,
T, but there's a second key that you have to hit first.
Man
Man.
T.
Command T. If you don't know that one, you can always go to edit free transform. And you'll see right here on my screen. Oh, you can't see my menu, right? It's Command T. But anyway, so Command T. Does everybody get bounding boxes?
Yeah.
Okay, now what do we want to do with this thing?
Move it over.
Right on. So let's move it over into where it's going to now create the split and angle it so that it kind of fits nicely. Move it, use your arrow keys up, down, right, left if you want to get it really perfect. And then press your check mark. Now, it's funny, I didn't copy enough of the fur. Look at that, I still have part of the stick. So, am I worried about it? Not really. I'll create a new layer, go to my healing brush, because I created a split, and I'm just going to color it in. And it should be able to. I should have been more careful, but I'm not worried about it because I fixed it. So if you end up with that, you can either reclone and create and bring in more fur in your copy, or put it in place, grab the spot healing brush, and then fix it. Because everything was in the dark fur anyway, Photoshop had no problem cleaning it up with the spot healing tool. So this was what I just cleaned up, because I didn't make my patch large enough. All right, I'm not going to give you any instructions. I want you to do the same thing right here. You're on your own without any advice from moi. It's 8:30. All right, we're gonna have to move on this one. Yeah, I'll give you another minute. And for those of you that have managed to do that, I want you to simply clone some of this lighter water and put a breakpoint right about in there. Okay, so just copy some of this into this, so that isolates this area.
Okay, I have a problem. Up to now it worked, but now I get a message. The spot healing brush tool automatically samples pixel to correct the spot with one step to manually set the source. Use the healing brush tool.
Are you okay?
I am on the suitcase.
No, you're trying to use. You pressed option when that happened to you, because
Option.
you're trying to use the stamp healing, but you're on the spot healing. You need to
I
make
am on a.
you need to make sure that's selected.
Okay.
And when you press option now, that pop-up will not happen. I only know Hugh because I do that all the time. It's an easy mistake.
Sorry, what was the mistake there? I kind of missed
He
that.
was pointing to this, but when you press option, I'll do it. It'll give you this message. Because you're trying to set a target, but the spot healing tool doesn't need a target.
Right.
So it's complaining to you. So if you click on this and then press option and click, nothing happens because it's working correctly. Okay, so he just simply had this one selected by accident. And again, easily done. Like I said, I do that constantly. I was using the tool, forgot to change it, and then I'm expecting it to do the I was expecting it to work like this, but I was on the wrong tool.
Resize.
Okay,
Okay.
so,
you.
so has everyone created the break here?
Yes.
You have, then go back to the spot healing tool and just start. I haven't got it broken, but I just want you to start coloring this in, and you should see it start to remove things. Okay. Because you've isolated it, it should do a good job of replacing the stick with the green water. Yes, no,
Yes.
okay. Now, once you've done that, move down and start working in small chunks. You can stay with the spot healing tool. Just take away that one stick. And it'll do a pretty good job. Once you've done that, take away this part of it, not all of it, just enough so that it can surround with the, yeah, see how I'm doing it? It's just using these reference points because I haven't gone too far. This is a classic case of less is more. You'll do a better job with less effort. Once I've done that, then move down to the third part and just color it in. Okay, so there you go. It's not perfect, but it's close enough for this example. So we got, and I'm not going to do it all because I didn't put the break in. So
Sam, what if you wanted to zoom in to make sure you've really got it well?
Command plus,
Command plus, thank you.
Command minus moves back, Command 0 fills the screen up with the image. Okay, so that's enough for the distractions. We need to move on to some of the other elements. So again, Command 0. This here, you would just put a break in, then color it in with the spot healing tool. Job done. If you could do this one should be a piece of cake because it's just 2 breaks and one heal. Okay. Now, I was going to explain to you the difference between this and this. This is the one where it's fully automatic, spot healing. This one is the healing brush, which means I give it guidance. So I'm going to show you a little difference. Let's pick an element. This little stick right here. Okay, I'm purposely going to pick something easy. I could, and it'll work fine in this case, just simply do that, and it's going to fix it. I'm going to put that back. I could, however, if that wasn't working and I want to take control and I want to use the healing capabilities, I could come to this one, click on it, and now it works very much like the spot healing tool, the cloning tool, except it's not cloning, it's healing. Healing says I'm going to take the surrounding colors and textures and I'm going to make it work. Cloning is a straight copy. If I clone from, actually, let's do that. If I do cloning from here, I'm setting a reference and I come down here, look what it's doing. It's awful. It didn't work because I was cloning something from another source that is nothing like that. This, on the other hand, is a little smarter and you tell it what to do. So I'm going to make my brush a little bigger. And like you did with stamp tool, you have to press the option to say, I want you to reference this and then let it go and then color it in just like you did with the spot healing tool. And lo and behold. So it's spot healing, but you're telling it where to spot heal from. So it's kind of a hybrid of the spot healing and the cloning, but you're telling it where to source the change from. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So the order I do things in, I typically use spot healing. Then if that doesn't work, I'll use this one. if I'm really in a pickle and I need it to kind of do something. And then if that doesn't work, I'll generally go down to the stamp and use brute force and say, copy this to here. But you better be sure you're copying something that is exactly within the same tone family and texture family. Otherwise, you'll get that weird thing that I did up here. Make
So
sense?
the healing brush, that healing tool is almost like it's taking a sampling of both areas and merging them together.
Which one? This one?
The healing tool we're just talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that one, what it does is it tries to match the color, but
Hmm,
it'll take the texture.
gotcha. Okay.
Okay. Whereas the other one just it's like a carbon copy.
Right.
For those of
Right.
us
Right.
that
Right.
I've just dated ourselves again, it just says whatever was there, I'm taking and putting it here. And if I was doing that up in this space, it would work because it's pretty much all the same. But moving this to here, no way. Or to the moose, not going to work.
Understood.
Okay. So
Okay.
let's keep going. So we've done all of this. So we can shut that down. The next thing we're going to do is brighten up the moose. So let's come back here and I'm going to add let's see. We're going to brighten the moose. Okay. So we're going to add a layer with, what did I do? Let me just look at my answer because there's so many ways to do it. Okay, I used curves. Okay. So I'm going to show you a different way. I'm going to show you two ways of doing it. So the first thing you want to do is select the subject because I only want to brighten up the moose. Because if I brighten up the whole image, then my greens become even greener. I don't want that. I just want the darks in here to be brighter. So the first thing I want to do is select subject. So I know you can't see my screen. Oh, hold on a second. Command Z. You have to be on the actual picture that contains the object I want. I was on one of these layers, and select subject only references the layer you're on. And what I'm trying to do is create the marching ants around the moose only. Now I could do it the hard way and start to trace around it. Why would I? When Photoshop can do a better job than I can. So position yourself on the closest layer that contains the object, which for me is the bottom layer. It doesn't matter where it is. I just need to give it a reference point. Then you go to the menu and you say select subject. And I know you can't see my menu, but if you're following along, just click select subject.
Yeah. Oh, Vince,
Where
this
is
is
that?
such a wonderful picture of
Can you please
Gail.
mute again?
I just see that twinkle in her eye. She was
Thank you.
Sorry, Sam, where is that? Under which menu is select
It's on the
subject?
very top, the Photoshop menu is select and then subject.
Okay, yeah, I see it. Thank you.
Okay, so you'll notice it did a pretty good job, except for some strange reason on mine anyway, it missed this part.
Yeah, mine too.
Okay, so you go back into select. Actually, you go back into, you see, does everyone have a little square box with an arrow pointing in it?
No.
Or type in the letter W, which is object selection.
Is that magnetic lasso tool or?
Okay, if you don't, what they've done, and I don't like what they've done, is they've buried multiple tools under one icon. So if you don't see it, in my case, it's 1, 2, 3, fourth one down. Click on the little arrow in the bottom right corner. There you go. And you'll see object selection, magic, or quick. I want object. So again, I picked on, type in the letter W, it'll get you there fastest. And if you don't have the little black square with an arrow, then click on the bottom corner.
Yeah, I think I'm using 2022
Yeah.
and I don't see it. I have under that menu, I have a quick selection tool or magic wand tool. I
Huh,
don't have
you don't-
objects.
You don't have object selection?
No.
Well, that's weird. Okay.
That's okay. You know, I don't want to hold everybody up. You can go ahead.
Okay, well, there's another way. Well, if you have that one, click on object selection. So yeah, you can watch any at the very least. So we've done that. Up in the top here, you have two choices, rectangle or lasso. Either will work, but I like lasso. Again, I like control. So I moved mine to the word lasso. What that means is I'm going to now draw a circle around the part it didn't get. And you see that my box has a plus in it. I'll explain that in a second. There you go. So it's now created, it's included that little piece that was missing. And that's because I had to click up here. So this adds, this subtracts, and this will intersect. Intersecting is a whole different discussion, which will take 2 hours to explain, but I won't get into that. So was everybody able to add that missing piece if they had it? Just put it this way, does everyone have marching ants around the moose? Is there
Yes.
anyone?
Yes.
Okay. So what I want you to do now is come down to the circle down at the bottom that has half black, half white. Those are your layers. Those are your layers that actually do things in Photoshop. So I'm going to click on it.
Okay, I'll just,
What?
okay,
And I'm going to click on curves. And you should end up with a little box like this. And curves, no different than in Photoshop, sorry, Lightroom has curves as well. I don't know if they call it curves, but they have something that looks just like this.
Yeah, they call it curves, I think.
Okay, so curves has three major components to it. It has a histogram in it, and this picture has a lot of dark tones in it, which is why you're seeing a big spike here. It's got some middle tones, but very few highlights. There's not a lot of bright stuff in here, white stuff. So what we want to do is we want to lift, because we've created a mask. White reveals, black conceals on a mask. So anything in white will now be affected by the changes we make. Anything that's been covered by the black, which is the background, is not going to be affected. So I'm going to do something really crazy here and lift up, actually make it very dark. So you'll notice the moose just got really dark, but the background didn't change. And that's because my mask here that I just created, when we created a selection.
so can I go back? I guess I missed, how did we create the mask?
Oh, it was automatic. We didn't do anything. I'm going to go back.
So I have the
Okay.
marching ants.
You've got your marching ants, Hugh?
Yeah.
As soon as I go down here and I say select curves, because I've got marching ants, the mask is born automatically. You don't have to do anything. There you go. You'll see it right there. Because that was there, this happens. It's automatic. As long as you do the selection first. Okay.
Thanks.
Now, what do we want to do? We want to brighten the moose. So I know I really don't want to change the midtones and the highlights because they're fine. So what I can do is I can click right there. And what that does is it creates an anchor. Now I could move this up and down, but I don't really want to do that. I want to create an anchor. So I've said midpoints stay that way. Now, if I change anything downstream from there or upstream, this won't move. Those anchors stay stationary. So now I can click here and start to move my darks up. And so I'm just affecting the moose and the dark elements in the moose. You'll notice when I move this, that center thing is not changing. because I've anchored it. In fact, I could be really anal and put an anchor here. And now any changes I make, you'll notice I'm limiting the movement upstream. So remember, this chart is darks, medium, midtones, and highlights. By putting anchor points in, I'm controlling, again, I'm being very anal, but very specific. I'm saying, I only want my darks to get bright. So if I turn this off and on, can you see the difference?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I haven't blown out anything that didn't need to be blown out. I only took care of the darks. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the best way to do it, but there's another way to do it. There are many ways, but I'll show you another one very quickly. I'm going to turn off this so we get it to be dark again. I'm then going to create the
Hold on,
same
Sam,
mask.
hold on, Sam, just to back up there 1 second. So what did you do to accept that? So I'm still in the
I just
chart.
pressed enter.
Oh, okay,
It's automatic. It's real time.
okay.
There's no accepting, Jim. As soon as you take your hands off the mouse, it's done. It's recorded. Okay. So I'm going to turn off that one change, and I'm going to show you something different. Now, we did select subject. This is, you'll notice my moose is in pink. This is the AI part of Photoshop kicking in. It's recognizing subjects. And right now it says, hey, I see a moose and I'm going to highlight it for you. Or it's not highlighting, it's saying, I'm referencing this. Do you want it? Yeah, I do. Click.
But what did you do for it to turn pink?
Nothing. I just hovered over top of it. I literally Command D. I just moved my mouse. I didn't, it's that smart. I didn't do anything. I just went like that. I moved my mouse and it made the decision. It said, I found something. Is that what you want? Yeah. Okay, cool. Now I click and it put the marching ants on automatically. That's the artificial intelligence. Now,
Yeah.
what it did is it omitted the leaf, and I want that leaf. So I'm just going to, because I was already in the object selection tool, I'm going to put a circle around it. And now the leaf is also part of the selection. It's not going to make a difference for what we're doing, but I'm just showing you something. So I've got my marching ants again. No different than what we did before, except we used select subject. This time I used the artificial intelligence, which was simply, you'll notice it's highlighting the water because that's where my mouse is right now. So it's always thinking. I just didn't reference it before, but now I am. So I'm saying, okay, I want to create another curves. So I'll come down here and create curves. Okay, it's created another curves with a new mask. But this time I'm going to close it. I'm not moving anything in that chart or anything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the blending modes and I'm going to say, I want you to multiply. And what it's done is it's made everything very dark, but that's okay. I can now say, back that off. That's way too much. Blending modes are just ways of changing. I can make it brighter, I can make it darker, I can saturate it, desaturate it. There are different options. You just come down through the list and you try different things. I just know I wanted to darken it, so I'm going to say multiply. I'm not going to get into much more detail other than that. It went way overboard. That's fine. Now I take the opacity and I usually move it right back to 0, and then I start to, oh, I wanted to brighten it, didn't I? I went to the wrong way. Let's go to screen. Sorry, my mistake. Screen. And let's now push it back to 100. That's way too bright. So at 100%, the screen mode, which makes it brighter, went crazy. So I'm going to move it back to 0. And now I'm going to simply start to bump it back up to taste. And that looks okay. So that has done similar to the first thing, but the way I did it first way is I was controlling what parts of the moose, the dark tones, got bumped. This, on the other hand, said, I'm just doing the whole moose. And either will work. It all depends on the subject you're dealing with and whether you're as picky as I might be or not. I would typically have used the first method, but the second method is just as effective, albeit more global in the way it applies it, and certainly a lot easier. Any questions on the two ways of brightening? And there are many other ways. You could use
Yeah, sorry.
levels, so on and
So
so forth. But
the second mask, Sam, was that just another vector mask or was it
no,
something
it's
else?
not a vector mask. It's a pixel mask. It's just a vector mask is entirely different altogether. Nothing to do with this.
Gotcha.
A vector mask is a mask on top of a mask. We won't get
Okay,
into
so
that.
I guess I missed how you created that second mask.
All right, well, we'll do it again. So remember I said we need a selection. Anytime you have a selection and then you click on one of these items down here, a mask is born automatically for you. You don't have to do anything. So I came to this, I simply moved my cursor over it. It said, look, I found the AI in the tool said, I found a moose. Don't ask me how it figured out, but it did. I simply click on it and move away, and the marching ants are on the moose. Agreed? So now I simply come down to the various options, and I know I want a curves. I click on it. So as soon as I click on curves, it's going to create a new curves layer with the mask right here. It did that all automatically, simply because I had the marching ants around here. Had I not had the marching ants, a mask would not have been generated because it's a global. There's
I
nothing
guess that's what
specific.
I kind of lost my marching ants. I guess I don't know how.
Yeah, you need marching ants. Otherwise, if without marching ants, so I'll do it again, but this time without marching ants. So I just come down here, pick curves, and you'll notice it's just created a blank mask,
Right.
which is basically no mask at all. White means show everything. So if you want something created for you, you have to have marching ants first.
Right. So did you just click on the third one there to bring up the marching ants? I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out how you got the marching ants up.
Simply by doing this,
Yeah.
by clicking, letting the AI in Photoshop tell me what it found, and I clicked on top of it. I did nothing.
It must be a 2022, 2023 difference because I
It
can't
could
get
be. It could be. The AI stuff is getting more and more intelligent every year. So
Okay.
I believe this is the latest change. Yeah.
So I have the 2023 edition.
Yeah.
When I go to your first way, select and subject,
Yeah.
it gives me two little circles that have absolutely nothing to do with
That's
the moon.
because you should be on this. You should be on the bottom layer, then do it. Because it has to have the object in its layer.
Okay,
And you also need sample all layers checked. Okay.
sample all layers. Oh,
hard
that's
edges.
there's my problem.
Yeah, again, see your defaults are, we'll have to fix your defaults globally, and then you'll get all this. For some reason, yours are different.
I haven't used it before, so
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
an
know
easy,
why
it's an easy fix. It's an easy fix. Lana.
Okay, now my moose is pink.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
There
you.
you go. All right, so we've done that. So let's forge ahead because we are quick. Oh, 5-2. I'm surprised they haven't brought us back. All right, let's desaturate or let's sharpen the moose. All right, so let's go back to this. There are different ways to sharpen. I'm going to use the what did I call it? The high pass filter. All right, since I've already got, actually, I'm going to get rid of my Command D gets rid of your marching ants. And I'm going to come to the very top. And what I want to do is create a visible stamp layer. Basically, that says I want to create a pixel layer combined of everything below this. So I'm basically saying I want the final image, but I want it in one layer. The reason you do that is because we're now going to use it to help sharpen the image. So you press Shift, Control, Option, and E, and just keep your eye. They call it the claw. Keep your eye here, and it's going to create a new layer, which is a combination of everything below it. So
Sorry,
Shift,
could you repeat the shift?
Shift, Control, Option, E. Shift, Command, wait, maybe I got the wrong, there we go. It was Shift, Option, Command, E. So on a PC, it's Shift, Alt, Control, E. Okay, it's 3 keystrokes, and you'll notice now if I turn everything off, the image is still fine. If I turn this one off, so it's taken all these, oops, I don't want to do that. It's taken all these, there you go, all of these layers, smushed them together and created this layer. I need this because I want to use this as my tool to sharpen. So what I'm going to do now is come up, and again, you can't see my commands, so I apologize, but I will narrate you through it. You type in the word, or you go to the menu and type, go to the filter. Yeah, filter, other, high pass. Filter, other, high pass is the menu system you go through. All right. And what it's going to do is it's going to give you what looks like a really poor sketch rendering. And if you get really crazy, which you should never do, you're going to create a really ugly sketch. Typically, you want to stay between 3 and 4 as the radius to get optimum. You can, some people go as high as 10, but then you start to create halos. So use it sparingly. If you're really unsure, and I'm not going to get into it, you turn this into a smart object. That way you can change things. Smart objects are, again, a whole different discussion. It's just easier to undo it and start again. That's what I typically do because smart objects are expensive. I'm going to set it to 4 and click. It's still ugly. Then you change the blending mode for this to overlay.
Isn't there something that just says sharpen?
There's unmask sharp. Yeah, this gives you more. This is just the one I use. But something's gone wrong for me here. So I'm going to start again. I apologize. I have no idea what I did wrong, but let's turn everything back on. Shift, Control, and E. And then let's turn this to overlay first. And now let's select filter, other, high pass. There you go. So now it's done it to everything. I don't like what it's done. You can certainly turn it down. Can you see the difference in the fur? It's definitely sharper. I'm turning it off and on, but it's
Yeah.
also sharpened everything in the background. I had a patch of fur up here that I obviously didn't get rid of. But what I would do is, oh, they're going to move us, leap break room in a minute. No, go away. So I'm going to move this down here, for instance, and create a clipping mask. What a clipping mask is it's only going to apply it to what's visible in the layer below. So I'm going to go here and create clipping mask. And now when I turn this off, keep an eye on the background. It doesn't change, only the moose. So it's applying the sharpening to the white space only below it. And that's by the clipping mask, which is represented by this arrow. Okay. Unfortunately, we're going far slower than the rest of the group, I guess. So we're going to be kicked back in. So we didn't do the last couple of items, which I really had wanted to show you, but I apologize for that. Yeah.
Sam, please remember to turn the video at the recording at the end.
Yes, I will do that, and I will send it out to everyone.